Hello everyone. I welcome all of you on behalf of Center for Governance Studies, which is an independent autonomous think tank in Bangladesh. I'm Tasmiah Ahmed, a lawyer by profession and also working with Center for Governance Studies, that is CGS, as its research associate. Today we are going to talk about Rohingya refugee crisis. And we are extremely happy because today we have with us Ambassador Muhammad Zamir, who is the chairman of Institute of Conflict Law and Development Studies. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. With your permission, I would like to start the discussion. Thank you, sir.
I'm personally very happy that I could be in the same platform. I'm personally happy that I could be in the same platform with you. So if I do tend to make any mistake, I hope you tell me what mistake I've made so that I can correct it.
Sure, sir. Please. Hello.
Okay. Let's start.
Thank you. So on 25th and 26th August of 2017, the Myanmar Army and Police unleashed brutal atrocities and oppression against Rohingya population. From that very day, over 800,000 Rohingya community people crossed over to Bangladesh, fleeing from killing, arson, rape, and whatnot. Before this genocide, more than 300,000 Rohingya people had already taken shelter in Bangladesh in various phases. Approximately 1.1 million Rohingya people are currently living in overcrowded condition in the Rohingya camps set up in Nuhiya and Teknaf of Cox's Bazar district. Now the government of Bangladesh, as we all know, we are very much overburdened because of giving shelter to this huge number of people. For that reason, the government of Bangladesh want to relocate some 100,000 Rohingya people from Cox's Bazar, Teknaf to an island named Bhasanchar. Recently, on 5th of September, a team of Rohingya community, approximately 40 people, went to visit Bhasanchar to see the facilities constructed by the government of Bangladesh and to let others know that if they can stay there or not. Fortunately, they have indicated that the facilities are good enough for their stay, but the twist is somewhere else. The people, there's some 300 refugees who are already in Bhasanchar. They say they want to come back to Nuhiya, they want to come back to the Rohingya camp, which is already overcrowded. So, sir, in that scenario, I would like to know from you, how do you think this relocation would be successful? What needs to be done for relocating Rohingya people from Nuhiya and Teknaf to Bhasanchar?
Well, let's put it this way. Bangladesh has spent nearly $280 million in constructing necessary housing and a large embankment and further infrastructure in Bhasanchar Island. And the 40 Rohingya leaders who were representing 34 different refugee camps were taken to Bhasanchar by the Bangladesh Armed Forces and on 6th September, and they went there to evaluate what kind of a place they were being asked to move to. Now, we have seen and heard how certain non-governmental organizations have been always talking against such a movement, saying that this will affect the Rohingyas. But it appears that those who went were extremely happy to see the kind of infrastructure, the education facilities, and the other relevant housing facilities which were available. So partially this has more or less put aside the NGO negativity. One of the reasons why the NGOs don't want them to move there is apparently because I have been to the various camps in Rohingya camps in Teknaf and other areas quite a few times. But the reason is, for the NGOs, they have a lovely time and they spend it most of the time in 5-star hotels in Cox's Bazar and moving around in their cars. And they think that if Bhasanchar is the place where they are taken, then they will lose the basic way of earning money. That's my view. But in any case, I had discussions previously with senior officials of the armed forces and also of the Navy and the Army. And I mentioned it very clearly that efforts should be made to take these people to Bhashan Chowk to see for themselves how things are. And they should be reassured that there was no question of anxiety of tidal upsurges of water entering their areas and drowning them. And they appear to have been quite happy with what happened. Now, the reason why Bangladesh wants them to, government wants them to be taken there, that is because we have already seen how, in any case, those people who have been asked to go are people who have been clarified and who have been informed by Myanmar, many of them, thousands of them, that there is no objection to Myanmar receiving them if they want to come back to Myanmar. So if they go to Bhashan Chowk, it will be like a transit camp where they'll spend time before they leave again for their journey to Myanmar. So this is something which is very important, must be understood in that way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, sir, I'll move to the next issue, which is like recently the Executive Committee of the National Economic Council again cleared a project, a program, I would say, which is named Emergency Multi-Sector Rohingya Crisis Response, with a 77% rise in expenditure for 2 more years, which will be so that it will run until June 2023. Government has extended the project because it was necessary to extend the project, but government did so with no progress in sight, because there has been not a single case of repatriation of Rohingya people from Bangladesh to Myanmar, but Bangladesh government had to extend the project. So how do you see the prospect of the project? How long Bangladesh government can sustain with this sort of projects, and what Bangladesh needs to do, in your view?
What I didn't understand, of course, your reference was for 5 million refugees. Why should we be bothered about 5 million refugees? We are looking at a situation that when we say emergency multi-sector Rohingya crisis response, we are looking at a situation where we hope that by 2021 the repatriation process will start and then it start easing down. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because you know that recently on the 11th of September, there has been a meeting of the UN General Assembly and Security Council. There has been a joint statement after that meeting on 11th September, which was attended by Belgium, Dominican Republic, France, Estonia, Germany, Tunisia, UK, USA, the UN Special Envoy for Myanmar, and the UNHCR Commissioner for Myanmar, and Assistant Secretary General of the UNDP. Now, in this meeting, it was decided that at least the Myanmar authorities must undertake certain steps, and these steps include creation of an atmosphere where those who want to go back will feel that it is safe to go back and they can go back and function fully and equally. And in this context, this group in New York has pointed out that it would be best for Myanmar, because they have an election coming up on the 8th of November. They are saying that in that election, all people of all groups, ethnic groups, should be allowed and permitted to participate, including the Rohingyas. And in that context, they are saying that for this, it has to be an inclusive and credible election. Now, if that happens, you will find many Rohingyas who were initially, as we have seen earlier this year and late last year, not very keen about going back. They will feel, okay, things have changed, we can now go back to Myanmar, because we will be able to participate as what, with all the rights as what other citizens have. If that happens, that will go.
Sorry, I was muted. Sir, thank you so much, sir. So, sir, as we know that we are going through a pandemic situation and COVID-19 has actually made our life, has brought so much changes in our life, and and Rohingyas are not an exception. Their life has been affected as well, and our government have been cautious enough since the beginning to prevent the spread of coronavirus in the overcrowded Rohingya camps. So, according to Institute of Epidemiology, Disease Control Research, um 3,361 COVID-19 positive cases and 60 deaths were reported in Cox's Bazar Rohingya camp. So, and government has increased the testing capacity, COVID-19 testing capacity to 1,500 samples per day, following human resources and equipment support from humanitarian community to the IEDCR, that is the institute that I have just referred. So, do you think that the measures being taken by the government to contain or to prevent the spread of coronavirus in Rohingya camps are sufficient, or something needs to be done? Um, Still needs to be done, in your view?
Well, if I may point out, Tasmiah, that the WHO Director General, more often than not, he has always stressed on two items. In order for COVID-19 to be controlled, you have to know what is the meaning of the two words contain and mitigate. Now, in order to do that, you have to understand that this is a respiratory tract infection which can only function and assumes a credible situation only when people don't wear masks and they don't use sanitizer on their hands. Now, we have noticed that in the Rohingya camps, in Teknaf and in other areas in southeast of Bangladesh, as well as we have noticed it even in Dhaka, many people unfortunately refuse to wear masks or keep the sanitizer and cleansing apparatus around them. As a result, today Bangladesh has more than 370,000 cases. Now, yes, God is merciful, so that the total number of people who have died is considerably lower. But than what has happened in the United States or what has happened in Brazil or in India. But nevertheless, what can happen in the Rohingya community is atrocious because it's a small contained area where they don't listen to anybody. That is what worries the government.
Understood. Thank you, sir. So, sir, I'll move to the last issue for today's discussion, which is the diplomatic efforts of Bangladesh for resolving Rohingya crisis, which is the most discussed topic for last couple of years, I would say, because with Bangladesh, all the countries, most of the countries have agreed that the only solution to solve this crisis is to ensure repatriation of Rohingya community from Bangladesh to their homeland Myanmar. So, do you think the diplomatic efforts that have been undertaken or that Bangladesh has adopted are sufficient enough to ensure their repatriation, or what else should be done from the government of Bangladesh in your view?
Well, it's a very interesting point you raised. But then I still remember that when we were creating identity cards of the Rohingya refugees in the various camps, I was there. And I asked a lady who was refusing, who was sitting on the ground, and she was suckling a small child in one breast, and another child was pulling a sari, and there was another child crawling around her. So I said, why are you not? He said, well, why should I? Because they came and killed, I had two other children, they killed their father in front of the children, and they killed my husband when I was pregnant. I've since had a child. Now, what will I gain by doing that? So there is this aspect of people realizing, yes, there is a future if we go back to Myanmar. And for that, creating a future, there has to be a situation where, as Antonio Guterres has just recently said, the UN Secretary General, he has drawn reference to the United Nations Council resolution, Security Council resolution 2532. And he has said that there needs to be immediate cessation of hostilities within Myanmar as well, because they are still fighting the Chin community, the Shan community, the Shangdu community, and other communities. Now, if the atrocities continue, then in that case, you will always have problems. And that is why what I feel is that we should try to persuade ASEAN and also China and Russia and India, not just say we are going to help you, but be seen as actively engaging and trying to help us by creating the necessary conducive atmosphere so that people in Bangladesh who are refugees feel that yes, we can go back, we can be equally able to live our lives with proper health care, with education for our children, and with freedom of movement. So these are things which need to be made clear by China. And in China, as you know, recently there was a Chinese diplomat, Yang Jiechi. He went for a visit in the first week of September to Greece and then Spain, and later on had discussions with the European Union officials, and again also went to Myanmar. Now, he raised many issues of how the ASEAN and China can work together, but not even once did he mention about ASEAN taking a more frontal and more introspective role in the context of repatriation of Rohingyas back to Myanmar. So China is thinking only of the One Belt, One Road initiative, its master plan on ASEAN connectivity 2025, and in that context, the Myanmar-China economic corridor has assumed more responsibility for them than that of the refugees going back to Myanmar. Similarly, we have seen the case of India. They have mentioned a lot of things, but they have not really taken the active steps necessary for that purpose. Neither has Russia. So let us wait and see, but at this point of time, after the world is recovering from COVID-19, we have to wait and see who wins the election in America. And in this context, there is still some confusion because Joe Biden thinks that he might win. Donald Trump thinks he should win, and Donald Trump believes in transactional diplomacy. That is why he's supporting the Jewish community and arranging for Israel to have a special foothold in the Middle East, and submitted his name for a potential Nobel Prize for Peace in Norway. So things are really boiling over. It will all be clearer after November, after the elections are finished in America, and after the first COVID vaccine has been discovered. And if it's Russia or China and not America, things might evolve in a different way.
Understood, sir. Thank you so much for your input, sir. I would thank you one more time for joining us and giving us time. I really enjoyed the discussion. I hope the viewers will also enjoy listening to you, knowing a lot. Thank you so much, sir.